Have you ever noticed how, as we grow older, the world seems to grow quieter, yet life somehow becomes more complicated? The phone rings less often, invitations begin to disappear, and time starts to stretch in ways that feel unfamiliar. The kids have their own lives now, the house feels bigger, emptier, and sometimes you find yourself wondering, does your presence still carry the same meaning it once did? Here's something most people won't tell you. Getting older doesn't just bring wisdom, it also brings vulnerability. And sadly, that's exactly what some people are counting on. It's subtle. It doesn't strike like thunder. It arrives softly like a gentle breeze, a helpful hand with the groceries, a cheerful neighbor asking about your will, an old acquaintance showing up after decades of silence. On the surface, it all seems harmless, but if you stop and look more closely, there's often something else underneath, a motive, an agenda. What I'm about to share might be unsettling, but every person over 60 needs to hear it. The older you become, the more likely you are to be targeted. Not because you're fragile, but because you're kind. Not because you're weak, but because you're on your own. Take Mr. Harold, 74, widowed for 5 years. Most days he's in the garden or rewatching classic westerns. One day, a young woman from the neighborhood started stopping by, said she was just being friendly. She brought muffins, helped him set up his new TV remote, even joined him for afternoon coffee. It was nice, comforting. But after a few months, things changed. She started borrowing $1.20 here, $1.40 there, just until Friday. Harold, polite and grateful for the company, didn't want to push back. He didn't want to lose the only visitor he'd had in months. By the end of that year, his savings were nearly gone, and she had vanished. These stories are more common than you think. Older adults aren't targeted because they're easy marks. They're targeted because they've spent a lifetime saying yes, being the helper, the one who shows up. And now that same instinct is being used against them. There is also the quiet ache nobody talks about. The ache of loneliness. It creeps up, not dramatic, just persistent. You might not even notice it at first. Just a longing to hear your name spoken kindly, a craving for a hand on your shoulder, someone to sit across the table, just to know you still matter. That ache, some people can sense it from a mile away. They know if they offer just enough kindness, just enough attention, the walls might come down. And when those walls fall, so does your protection. In the next part, we'll explore how your generous nature, that beautiful, open spirit of yours, can be either a gift or a risk, depending on who receives it. Because friendliness is a treasure, but only in the hands of those who won't exploit it. And this might feel personal because it is. There's a reason they say older people are among the kindest souls. Decades of living have taught you patience. Loss has softened your heart. Struggles have made you gentler. You interrupt less. You listen more. You've learned to let go of the trivial things, but that same kindness, if left unguarded, can become a doorway. Not because you're naive. You've seen enough of life to know better, but with age comes a desire for peace. You've fought enough storms, now you just want calm. So when someone disrespects your space or crosses a line, you say it's okay, even when it's not. And little by little, that beautiful warmth becomes a burden. That smile becomes an open door for the wrong people. Kindness is powerful, but it has to be thoughtful, controlled, discerning. Openness, on the other hand, if left unchecked, can be dangerous, especially now. Because when people see a smile, they assume you're agreeing. When they see silence, they take it as permission. They'll test the waters. They'll start small. A casual visit, a personal question, a small favor. And when you don't resist, they move closer. Let me tell you about Helen. She's 79. Lively, clever, always baking something sweet. Her warmth was legendary in her community. But lately, she's been worn down, not her body, her spirit. I've never told anyone no in my life. She whispered to me once, but now I'm just so tired. Her cozy apartment had turned into a revolving door, people dropping in for coffee, sharing their problems, asking for small favors. They always left with something, never once stopping to ask how she was doing. That's the danger. When you're too open, too available, people stop seeing you as a person. They see you as a resource. Another reason older adults get taken advantage of: exhaustion, not just the physical kind, emotional fatigue. In younger years, we had the fire to speak up, question things, push back, but now it's different. You fought your battles, you don't want to argue, you'd rather keep things calm. So when someone nudges past your boundaries, instead of saying stop, you might smile, nod, and carry that discomfort in silence. But here's the truth you need to hear. Peace that requires you to abandon your well-being isn't peace. It's quiet suffering. Let's talk about technology. The digital world has taken off like a rocket over the past 20 years. Emails, texts, scams, fraudulent bank calls, one wrong click, one trusting moment, and your personal information is gone. It's not just about age. They're not targeting you because you're old. They're targeting you because they assume you won't know how to fight back. You've lived through wars, heartbreak, raising children, burying loved ones, and still, they treat you like you don't know what's going on. It's not only insulting, it's dangerous, because if you don't recognize the pattern, if you don't speak up, you risk joining a quiet epidemic: elderly exploitation. And exploitation doesn't always mean stolen money. Sometimes it's stolen time, stolen trust, stolen peace. Margaret is 81, a widow. Her nephew hadn't spoken to her in years. Then one day, out of the blue, he was on her doorstep. Said he missed her, said he wanted to reconnect. Her heart swelled. Family, after all, is family. At first he came over for dinner. Then he started bringing over laundry. Then he asked to borrow the car. Then it was $50, then $100. She gave and gave because she wanted to believe it meant something. But she knew, deep down she knew. We convince ourselves that if we give a little more, they'll stay. If we say yes, they'll love us. But here's what you must remember. The people who truly care about you don't make your kindness feel like a debt. They don't vanish when you say no. Anyone who only shows affection when you're giving something, they're not loving you, they're using you. And that realization, as painful as it is, can be the start of something new. Because in your later years, you're not just protecting your home or savings. You're protecting your peace, your energy, your emotional safety. This part of life, it's meant to be your time to rest, reflect, breathe. But none of that is possible if you're constantly surrounded by people who drain you. So before we move forward, ask yourself, have I let anyone into my life simply because I was afraid to be alone? Have I agreed to things I didn't want just to keep someone close? Have I confused manipulation with love? If you've said yes even once, let me tell you something important. You're not broken. You're not foolish. You're human and you're not alone. So many kind-hearted people fall into the same trap. But the beauty is this: once you recognize it, you can stop it. You can take your power back. Let's talk honestly now, because this next part might hit closer to home than you expect. Saying no has never been easy, especially for people like you, the dependable ones, the ones who always show up. The ones who stayed late, who gave extra, who sacrificed without being asked. For decades, you've been the rock for others. But now, in this chapter of life, it's time to flip the story. No one ever taught us this growing up, but here it is. Boundaries aren't rude. They are essential. They are the fences that protect your garden. And if you've spent a lifetime letting people trample through, it's time to build that fence. You are not selfish for protecting your time. You're not cold for wanting peace. You're not dramatic for saying, I need a break. That's not you becoming distant. That's you becoming wise. Still, the guilt creeps in, doesn't it? Because we were raised to put others first. We were taught to be nice, to avoid conflict, to make everyone else comfortable. But what we were not told is this: Being nice without limits invites the wrong people to use you. And they will. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every conversation, every favor, every moment you swallow your needs to keep someone else happy, that's a withdrawal. If you don't start making deposits, you go bankrupt, and not just emotionally. You start to feel it in your body. That heaviness, that weariness that lingers after certain visits, that's not age. That's emotional exhaustion. Let me tell you about Dorothy. She's 76, retired from nursing, lives with her dog Toby, in a quiet little house she worked hard to pay off. She's beloved in her neighborhood, but maybe a little too beloved. Neighbors ask for help constantly, watching their kids, picking up their groceries, lending her car. Her children check in, but usually when they need something, help with bills, babysitting. One day she told me, "I feel like I'm living for everyone else, but no one is really here for me." That sentence sat with me. That's exactly why boundaries matter. Not to build walls, but to protect the parts of you that are still tender, still healing, still growing. Not everyone deserves full access to your time. Not everyone has earned a seat at your table. And you are allowed, yes, allowed to be selective. That's not arrogance. That's survival. If someone drains you every time they visit, that's not friendship. If every conversation leaves you feeling worse, that's not connection. And if saying no makes someone angry, let that be your answer, because that means your yes was being exploited. When you set a boundary, you're not pushing people away. You're choosing yourself for once, and that choice is long overdue. Here's something else most people won't say. The older you get, the smaller your circle should become. Not because you're losing people, but because you're learning to value peace more than noise, less drama, more clarity, fewer obligations, more freedom. You don't need 10 friends, you need 2 good ones. You don't need constant visitors. You need people who know when to come and when to give you space. You don't need to keep the door open for everyone from your past. Some people belong to a version of you that no longer exists. And that's okay. Let's talk practical now. Because while protecting your emotions matters, you also need to protect your reality, your time, your money, your space. First, finances. If anyone pressures you to lend money, sign a loan, or give access to your accounts, stop. Take a breath. Real love never demands financial sacrifice. Your savings are not emergency funds for someone else's poor decisions. And no, it's not just money. It's your safety net. It's your freedom. You built it. You're allowed to protect it. If anyone tries to guilt you with lines like "you can't take it with you," remember this. It's not about what you take with you. It's about what keeps you safe while you're still here. Second, your time. Just because you're retired or home more often doesn't mean your time is up for grabs. You're not an on-call therapist. You're not a personal assistant. If someone always brings problems but never asks how you are, pull back. That's not friendship. That's one-sided dependence, and it's exhausting. Third, your home. Your home should be your refuge. If someone walks through your door and shifts the energy in a way that makes you feel drained, pay attention. You don't have to open that door again. You're not required to entertain everyone. You're allowed to say, "Not today." You're allowed to close the blinds and enjoy your peace. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, your instincts, that gut feeling, that whisper that says something feels off, don't ignore it. It's not paranoia. It's experience speaking. If someone's words are kind, but your stomach twists, listen to that. You've lived long enough to trust yourself. Here's the good news. The moment you stop making room for the wrong people, the right ones finally have space to show up. And they will. It might be the friend who actually listens instead of waiting to talk. The neighbor who checks in because they care, not because they need something. The caregiver who respects your boundaries. Or maybe it's the joy of rediscovering your own company, your own rhythm, your own stillness. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. There's peace in silence, there's clarity in solitude, and there's power in choosing who gets access to your energy. So many people spend their older years feeling like they're fading, but you're not fading, you're refining. You're becoming more valuable, and that's exactly why some people will try to take from you, but now you know better. And knowing better, that's how you finish this chapter with grace. You don't owe anyone access to your time just because they share your blood. You don't owe people a smile when your heart says no. You don't owe the world endless yeses while your soul begs for a break. You owe yourself the gift of peace. You've spent your life giving. Now you get to guard what remains. Here's the final truth. The boundaries you set today, they're not just for you. They're lessons for the next generation. Your children, your grandchildren, the neighbors watching, when they see you say no with grace, it gives them permission to do the same. When they see you choose rest over guilt, it teaches them that aging doesn't mean shrinking. It means rising into wisdom. So let them say you've changed, you have, and thank goodness you've changed from people, pleasing to peacekeeping, from carrying everyone else's load to finally feeling free, from silent suffering to powerful clarity. Because aging doesn't make you less valuable, it makes you sacred. So guard your peace, guard your joy, guard your time, and remember, anyone who truly loves you won't be upset when you finally start loving yourself. You've earned this calm, you've earned this stillness, and you deserve to enjoy it without apology. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of something you felt but couldn't quite name, then you're exactly who we made this for. Subscribe for more honest truths, more wisdom, and more peace, and let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? We'd love to hear from you.